Welcome to a new episode of the You're Wrong podcast, a podcast where a Gen X and a millennial talk about culture back then, culture right now, mostly agree to disagree, and I don't know what we're not wrong about today.
Hi.
Oh, hi.
What are you?
Oh.
Who are you?
My name's Elizabeth. You wanted to do it fast today, and you threw me off my flow. That's what happened.
The point of neglecting our format.
The format you didn't want.
True.
My name is Elizabeth. I'm the millennial.
I'm Nicole, and I'm a Gen Xer.
And yeah, I don't know what we're wrong about, or we're not wrong about today.
I have a question for you.
Yeah. This has happened twice now.
I know.
And it never happened before. And I'm very excited.
I'm changing my ways. First, I want to tell you something I did this weekend.
Okay.
How was your weekend?
Thanks for asking. Are we in a new era?
I don't know what's going on. I told you I was tired, so I'm off my pivot.
My weekend was good. I was tired this weekend.
You were?
So I feel like I mostly slept. Yeah.
Didn't do much. That sounds nice.
You know how you have a long week and then you have like a Friday where you like went a little too hard in the paint, and then Saturday and Sunday are just like.
Yeah, I don't do that anymore.
Right, but you do remember.
I do recall.
Yeah.
I mean, it really wasn't that long ago. I literally just started not doing that this year.
Okay, sure.
I did something. I did something that I've never done before. I overcame a childhood fear. It's real lame too.
All right, I can't wait to hear.
I actually we cleaned the whole house or whatever, and I was making up the bed, and I'm like, I bought a new comforter, and I'm so tired of these tags on this comforter. This is so stupid. I'm always trying to hide the tag or put the tag on the side or whatever. And I'm like, I'm gonna just rip this tag off. But
why aren't you allowed to? That's what I never understood. What? I rip them off because I say who's gonna stop me?
Right.
Why?
And I did it to the pillows too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I literally used to be so afraid of doing that.
Who would come for you?
When I was a kid, that was one of my we used to be afraid to take the tags off pillows and
I hope
comforters.
You tell me why that's a thing, because
I'm going to tell you why that's a thing.
I can't wait.
And it's a part of my GenX File. We're going to talk about irrational fears of the 80s and 90s, kind of like childhood fears of the 80s and 90s.
Okay.
But they really they were kind of irrational, and whether did they make any sense? Why were we afraid? That's kind of what I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
So that's what my GenX File is about.
All right, you want to get into it?
Sure, let's do it.
See, I thought you were going to ask me if I had any irrational fears.
Well, that's my next thing.
Oh, okay.
See, you didn't let me finish.
You're right. I'm sorry.
So my question was going to be, other than the weekend thing, was did you have any irrational fears as a kid?
As a child? Okay. I don't know if this is necessarily irrational, because you have to, let me bring you to my time.
Okay, bring me to your time.
So I was born in the 90s, not living through the 90s.
Jesus.
And when I was...
Oof, that's crazy.
Reminder. So when I was born, or when I was young, I was really aware of two things. One, that Michael Jackson touched little boys.
Oh, God.
And also...
Allegedly.
But as a child, this is what I thought.
Okay.
This is what I thought.
Okay.
And then also that Elizabeth Smart was taken from her bedroom window, which is... And I am also named Elizabeth. And I was... deathly afraid that I was going to be taken. At any moment, if I was not with an adult... I was I'm going to be stolen away. I will never see my family again.
So those were your fears.
And that's what I'm saying. I don't know if that's necessarily irrational.
I think the Elizabeth, in theory, I don't think it's bad to be afraid of being abducted.
I was certainly fixated too much. That's what made it irrational.
Right. But the fact that it was because of the person was named Elizabeth is what is kind of I
mean, it wasn't necessarily that, but I think it just put it in perspective where it was girl, similar age, same name, just living her life. And then one day a man comes out her window, and then she gone.
Michael Jackson did what he did, made you afraid.
See, I did think to myself, at least I'm not a boy.
So that's that mind went. Your mind went crazy.
I was I'm safe from Michael Jackson, allegedly.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm sorry. Look, do you want me to be on? Look, these are thoughts. Obviously, it's very different from where I think now. I am an adult woman,
it's crazy.
but I'm talking about as a child, as a baby child.
I think that had a lot to do with the stuff you were hearing and seeing.
That's exactly it.
That's what makes our childhood fears like weird, because we're just it's stuff that we've been inundated with, and then we develop these weird fears. But so the pillow and comforter tag thing,
very different from mine.
I know, like mine are going to be real basic compared to what.
Can you take the tag off a pillow? Will you get abducted? We don't know.
Right.
And if you do, what happens?
And what happens, right? So
because when they found those people in that basement of that guy's house, I must have been like 13,
I know.
and that was another whole traumatizing event for me.
We had stuff like that too, but I just overlooked that and went straight to like ripping tags off pillows.
You know, you start with like the fixation in true crime at young like that, where you're traumatized.
Yeah.
And now it's just like
I'm
always ready.
So the thing about the pillow and comforter tags, just to like get through that one, because this is like a real mild one. I have other ones that are kind
literally
of
never
a little
understood
bit more
it.
serious.
It's like a law, they say.
It's a law. It's literally not illegal. It's not illegal once you buy them,
which makes sense because you own it.
You own it. But so the tag says, under penalty of law, this tag is not to be removed except by the consumer. Why my parents
It says it very clear,
kept them on there? Like, why didn't they ever read the fine print? But anyway, so they started putting the tags on the pillows and the comforters basically because like there was a whole issue about this being used, like a pillow being used or a comforter being used already, and so, which is so gross to me. But so the
now you can just get one on Facebook Marketplace with the tag still on and everything.
Still on it, and it's used. So basically, the tags were what signified that this was never used and it was new, and so then when you bought it, you were able to take it off and you wouldn't be arrested. But if you took it off before you bought it, then you could be in trouble.
With like $150 fine?
I don't know what the fine was.
Oh, okay.
But so that was like one of those really weird ones that stuck with me for some reason, and I broke through it this weekend. But there's other ones.
I'm really proud of you.
There's other ones that still kind of haunt me a little bit.
Okay.
And so one of them, and so it's so funny. Of course, I went to Reddit to kind of see if anybody else like it also had these fears, and there's a lot of people around my age that are afraid of the Bermuda Triangle. The Bermuda Triangle used to be, and it's funny you're laughing.
I'm laughing because like you say that as if when you say it, and I know this isn't what you mean, but when you say it in those words that way with this tone, like the way you said it,
what
it makes it sound like the Bermuda Triangle is gonna like sneak up and get you. And like that's not how that works. And also, when like, do you even really know where?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Now,
but how many times have you been there?
I have never been to Bermuda because literally I never wanted to go there. Like I've seen pictures of it now, and I'm like, that's actually a nice ass island.
Nice.
Yeah,
maybe
it's like beautiful and
they got
clean
the secret. You don't want tourists.
So, but as a kid, like the Bermuda Triangle used to really, really freak me out. It's known as the Devil's Triangle. This is a real thing. It really is known as that, and it's actually an area between Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. Oh, yeah. Okay. So it is actually.
So you do know where it is.
I do know where it is. I did not really know where it was when I was a kid. Now that I'm thinking back about this fear, I'm like, why the hell was I so afraid? So anyway, I never even thought about going to Bermuda as a result, and I was always afraid that like we were flying to Florida one time. Like I was afraid.
Oh, yeah.
If we even got close to somewhere down there, we would be in the Bermuda Triangle.
And then what did you think would happen to you?
Literally, your plane would disappear. Because
you would just disappear?
You would, and guess what?
Okay.
People did. This one is not this is not unbased. Like there is some basis for this fear.
Is it Amelia Earhart who fell in there?
Actually,
okay.
I don't know. I hope not. Did she?
I don't know. I thought so.
I did a little research.
Have we found her? Do we know?
Did she get lost?
I think she's still lost.
I think this might be a Mandela effect. I think that she actually was never lost. So why were we so afraid? So my first thought with these things was like, I wanted to figure out why we were afraid of this, because where did it come from? And like, why specifically in the 80s and 90s were we afraid of it? Probably more so the 80s, but you weren't in the 90s and 2000s.
I knew about it.
Yeah, but it wasn't something that like at the top of your mind, you would not say one of your childhood fears was the Bermuda Triangle.
No.
But if you ask like a group of Gen Xers what used to kind of keep them up at night, I think the Bermuda Triangle might be at the top of the list.
Again, as if the triangle's gonna like sneak up on you in the middle of the night and you'll be disappeared.
So the thing, before I get into the fact that this actually is kind of a real fear, I wanted to figure out why we were afraid of it. And so like, it seems there were incidents that happened all the way back in the 40s when it came to this part of the world in terms of war bomber planes sort of like vanishing or whatever, and I'll get into a little bit more of that later. But as a result, there were like some books. So when the Bermuda Triangle came into like the lexicon of people's minds, authors and film and TV used it as a plot.
Oh, okay.
So a few things had happened in the 40s and some stuff in the 70s, and I'll get into it. But as a result, people were like, oh, yeah, the Bermuda Triangle. We should include this in our book. So in 1974, Charles Berlitz wrote a book called The Bermuda Triangle.
Original.
And so this book, it was like a mystery. It was a mystery book. And so it kind of fueled the fire of the Bermuda Triangle being a scary thing. Then in the late 70s, there was a TV movie directed by Richard Friedenberg, and he explored mysterious disappearances in the Bermuda Triangle. Okay. And so there were like...
I'm seeing the trend.
Yeah, so in the 70s, and then even in 1984, the Philadelphia experiment was... it was a movie. It really was not about the Bermuda Triangle. It was a science fiction film, but it included like elements of this mysterious place that people flew into and disappeared. So you may say, well, did anybody actually disappear in the Bermuda Triangle?
I was thinking that, but I figured you would tell me.
They did. So in 1945, 5 torpedo bombers vanished without a trace in the Bermuda Triangle. And like, okay, so that was 1945, right? There were different occurrences that happened between 1945 throughout the 70s and 80s, small situations where people, either their boats went missing or their plane got diverted flying through this area, right? Okay. So the mystique continued on, but in 2005, there was actually an airplane that disappeared with 3 people on board. Yeah.
Was it Carol Baskin's husband?
No.
No, I mean, I just feel like when they disappear, I feel like they do go somewhere. We're just not privy. Yeah, because they don't want us.
But
to
why
find
are they disappearing in the? So you're saying it was like they made it up? They flew out of?
No, I'm not.
They didn't want to be found.
Yeah, that one.
Okay, so maybe that happened in 2005, where the 3 people were on board. But again, in 2007, April 10th, 2007, there was another airplane that disappeared. 1 pilot was on board, never found the plane. This was in 2007.
Okay, these are recent, but I still feel like I need to know more about these people. Like,
okay.
Were they depressed? Were they like about to be arrested?
Okay.
Were they drug smugglers?
That's individuals, small private planes.
Yeah.
Disappear. They disappear in the Bermuda Triangle. You're saying maybe they were like trying to get away from tax fraud, tax evasion. Exactly.
Who knows?
Something like that. Yeah. So then how do you explain in 2017 the Turkish airline flight TK-183 was forced to change its direction from Havana, Cuba to Washington, Dulles, and after some mechanical and electronic problems occurred over the triangle, they went missing for a moment.
But they came back.
They came back.
Where were they?
They could not be found on
But where do they think they were?
I don't know. I didn't go that deep into it.
You had me there. I was like, where did they go?
And then in May of 2017, another private air class.
This is recent.
It is recent.
Why didn't I hear about this?
I don't know. Maybe you were too young. I don't know. You weren't focused on it because clearly
they don't want me to know.
The Bermuda Triangle doesn't scare you. Another private aircraft, which was like 24,000 feet, vanished from the radar and the radio contact with air traffic controllers in that area, and then the plane wreckage was found later.
Where?
I don't know. Where was it?
In the ocean?
I think it was in the ocean.
Okay.
Listen.
This is important information.
I know. I'm realizing now as I'm reading this, I'm like, she probably wants more details.
I am the crime girl. I just talked about how I'm traumatized.
I agree. But my point in this is that this one, although some might consider it to be a little irrational, it actually does have some teeth.
Well, I wouldn't fly there.
Exactly.
I'm not flying there.
I'm not flying there now either. Like, I'm still not interested in flying anywhere near the Bermuda Triangle. So this one kind of remains with me.
Okay.
All right. So just a little science part of it. They claim that like this area has a lot of hexagonal clouds. Like this area has those.
It's a glitch in the Matrix.
Basically. And so these clouds act like air bombs. And they're also can produce hurricane air force winds. And so those winds produce high waves, specifically in this area. And so therefore, there's a lot of issues with, sea vessels and airplanes flying through this area. So it is scientifically kind of like a danger zone.
Okay.
And so we had a right to be afraid of the Bermuda Triangle growing up.
And
Gen
to
Xers.
remain afraid.
And to remain afraid.
Don't fly there. Don't do it.
So there you go. Another one that I thought about. Again, I don't have that many of them, but I really wanted to look at why were we afraid and did we really need to be afraid? Mm-hmm. So another one, and Jason might feel me on this one, that we used to be afraid of was quicksand. Jason's shaking his head.
You were scared of quicksand?
I mean, you weren't.
Oh, he wasn't. But he knows people who were.
Okay, Jason. You were never scared of quicksand. All right, maybe because he's a Floridian. I don't know.
Where were you going to find this? I feel like
Anywhere.
a Floridian...
That's the problem. Anywhere.
I feel like Floridians should be more scared of quicksand.
Well, they actually should, because guess what?
We got sinkholes here.
There's more quicksand in Florida.
I'm scared of sinkholes. Because you don't know. You just be sitting there one day and the next thing you know.
Were you afraid of sinkholes growing up?
Not like this level of like do a whole episode on it, but there was like some house went into a sinkhole and they all died, and I was like,
a lot of them have.
Yeah, I was like, man, that's it's pretty scary, huh?
When I first moved here, one of the first stories that I had reported on was like a guy that like got swallowed, like a house. I don't know if it was the guy was the other one, but this was up in Tarpon Springs, and like somebody house kind of like got sucked into.
There was one where they weren't there.
A sinkhole. I think that was the one.
That was that
and
one.
I was like, what? Houses getting sucked into. This is again like I'm like, see, quicksand. Quicksand was one of those ones where I was like, why were we afraid of it? It's just, I felt like at any time, like my mom driving somewhere,
just gonna run into it,
or like we're at the beach, or just like walking home, like I could find myself in a quicksand situation. Okay. And so this never occurred to you?
No.
That's so interesting to me.
Not once.
Quicksand, do you know what it is?
It's sand that pulls you in quick.
It's just a mixture of sand and water, and it forms when sand
like a vacuum, right? So you can't get yourself out.
Yeah, so it's like you're right. There's water and sand, and then the quick refers to how easily the sand shifts and becomes like semi-liquid.
Don't you have to like get on your stomach to crawl out?
You don't actually.
You have to like. Oh no.
Basically, and this is speeding up a little bit, but like we probably didn't have to be really afraid because it's not really all that dangerous.
Yeah, because it's super slow.
Well, that's not it. It's just that like it has the density is higher than the human body.
Okay.
So basically you only will sink down but so far.
Oh.
Like you'll probably only sink to your waist, and then you can like agitate it and move and get out of it.
That like, I wanted to reference something, but I won't.
What?
No, it's okay.
Tell me.
I'll tell you off my.
Okay. Why were we so afraid of quicksand, Jason? I thought it was like there was a lot of episodes of like Scooby-Doo
with quicksand
that had quicksand involved.
There was also, it's like Princess Bride, right, where he falls into it in the magic forest or whatever.
Well, there was the Never-Ending Story.
Yes. Okay.
That's the thing.
Wasn't there one too with like a horse that falls?
That's the Never-Ending Story. Okay. So the Never-Ending Story came out in the 80s. All of us loved that movie, like a lot of Gen Xers. I'm not gonna say all, but the majority of us. It's like one of those movies that like we all saw, we all loved. But in it, there's one specific scene where the hero, his name is Atreyu, he enters the swamp of sadness with his horse, Artax. I know it's oh my god, it's traumatic. It really is traumatic. He's protected from the swamp of sadness because he has he's got like a protection around him. So he can't get but so sad. But his horse isn't as lucky. And so when they go through the swamp of sadness, they get stuck in quicksand.
Damn, bro.
And the horse like can't get his mind around the fact that they'll get out of it. And so he just like sinks lower and lower and lower and lower. And then he goes under. And so I feel like the Never-Ending Story set us up.
It just ruined you guys for quicksand.
For fear of quicksand. And there's a bunch of other scenes. Like I said, Scooby-Doo has a bunch of quicksand scenes. The Avenger cartoons. A lot of cartoons in the 80s had quicksand. Again, it's these things that like, they are real things, but then like Hollywood and the media get a hold of it and they're like, oh yeah, this is...
Made you feel like you might actually encounter this.
This is a good plot. Like piranhas?
Are piranhas something that you're scared of?
One of them.
Like you're never going to see a piranha.
They are out there.
Yeah, but you know.
Were you afraid of piranhas?
No.
I don't feel like you had enough fears. I don't know what's up with you. I don't know why you didn't have these fears. But yeah, quicksand was one of those ones where in like looking back, I'm like, that really wasn't that big of a deal. Like, they got us with that one. But I would like to point out that I feel like now, living in Florida, my chances of encountering quicksand are much higher.
It's not quicksand, it's sinkhole, and that's just going to pull you right in.
Well, that's not true because quicksand develops many places, but Florida is a hot spot for it. Again, it's probably a close sister.
You moved to the place...
of my fears.
Of your fears.
In more ways than one.
The Bermuda Triangle, quicksand. Like, you're not safe here, Nicole.
I know. I'm telling you. So the last one that I wanted to talk a little bit about was one that a movie, again, made me a little afraid. Not a little. I actually was like, I'm not going to say afraid.
Candyman.
Well, Candyman did do a lot. But this is Amnesia.
Okay.
I'm not going to say I was afraid of it, but it was much more of a possibility. Amnesia. Jason?
Were you scared of amnesia?
But did you feel like amnesia happened a lot more than it does now?
I even thought that, but I was never scared it was going to happen to me.
I wasn't afraid. I just knew it was a possibility. Like now I'm like, I'm not going to get amnesia.
But also, okay, we've had this discussion before where, you know, Disney kind of set us up where if you were going to be the main character of a show or a movie, your parents had to die.
Yeah, something real bad was going to happen.
But amnesia could also be a way. So you'd be off ready for an adventure if you had amnesia, I think.
I think amnesia does set you up for like a grand old time of a life.
Something's going to happen. It's going to be some kind of adventure.
Have you ever seen the movie Overboard?
Is that the one with Goldie Hawn?
Yes, and Kurt Russell.
Yeah, and it's kind of... Actually, isn't it?
It actually is.
Like, it's actually like when you really think about that movie,
it's not appropriate at all.
It's cute. I have seen it. When you watch it, you're like, wow, love, and they get together, right? Because that movie, and that's why they're together now. And it's like cute. But then when you really think about it, you're like, huh,
this wasn't
he
right.
really just took in this woman.
So basically, yeah, Overboard came out in 1987. Goldie Hawn was like this really this really rich lady, and she hires Kurt Russell to come install a closet on her yacht. She's like in a relationship, but she might have been married to like this really rich man. So anyway, Kurt Russell comes, installs the closet. She's a complete bitch to him. Like, she's really mean. And then like one night there's a big storm. Maybe they were close to the Bermuda Triangle. I don't know. and she falls over the boat and like hits her head, and he rescues her, and she has amnesia. Like, she doesn't remember where she came from. So he takes her home. He lives very modestly, like, you know, basically, you know, just very modest, kind of almost poor. And he has 4 sons who are ratchet.
Are they like terrors?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so she's like thrust into this life that he tells her is her life.
Bruh. I'd be so... But they stay together, right?
Yeah, she ends up like falling in love. Like,
no, see, that wouldn't happen.
She mothers the kids and like gets them to be better. And Kurt Russell is like has a meal when he comes home. Now, all the things he always wanted for him and his boys by lying to this lady who has amnesia. And so not only did I feel like amnesia could happen, it like if it happens, you might be screwed because you might end up like having to take care of 4 boys that are not yours.
So it's funny that you bring up a movie, because the movie that I think of for amnesia, and I don't think this is actually amnesia, but is the movie about memory loss, I think, for my generation.
Which is what?
50 First Dates.
I've only seen it like once.
So Adam Sandler starts to date Drew Barrymore.
Oh, that's right.
And they like, I think they have like a really good time.
Yeah.
And then he finds out that she's got this disease or something that she
can't remember.
She can only remember like one day at a time, so she always forgets the day before. And so he like courts her every single day.
I remember that one. Were they like in a beach or something?
I think they were in Hawaii or something.
Yeah. So so amnesia, I think it's okay to let go of this fear.
I think you're safe.
Although
I think you're okay. I'll remind you.
Do get amnesia. Oh, thank you.
You'll have like 50 episodes to listen
to. People do get amnesia. It happens.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's real.
I know it is real, but not many people get it. No. Only like 1.8% of people in the United States have been diagnosed with amnesia. Like,
is it temporary or is it
temporary?
Right?
I mean, it can last for a long, like, you know, months or whatever, but not that many people get it.
Yeah, I think you're okay. I think you'll be all right.
And most people, you know, but you know who gets it more? Women.
Of course. Of course, it's always women who get it.
I don't like it.
Well,
and
that's not true. But
it's usually brought on by like trauma. Like they say like during war times or really high stress natural disasters and stuff like that. It's like disassociating.
I was going to say, that sounds more like disassociation.
That's what it is.
Oh.
Yeah. It's actually,
I thought it was always like you got hit in the head hard enough and then you forgot everything.
Trauma can induce it, but a lot of times it's because of stress and it's disassociation. Oh. But I find it hard to believe that like you disassociate to the point where you don't even remember
your name,
your damn life.
Right.
Like, good Lord, that's a lot of disassociation. But yeah, that one scared me a lot as a kid. I was like I said, I don't want to say scared, but I definitely thought if something falls on my head, I may get amnesia and like not be able to get back home and have to like go live, right, be a child bride, like, and say these 4 kids are my own. So, you know, a couple honorable mentions. I was talking to some friends about it and they were like, what about alien abductions?
I was never scared
afraid
of aliens. No.
Aliens were definitely
what would they want me for?
A big deal.
What are they gonna do
when
with me?
I was growing up? Probe you.
I've been on worse dates.
It was like in the, you know what's so crazy about it? Now people actually really should be afraid of aliens abducting them.
No, because they're like real.
They're real.
No, but you know what it is now.
I'm like, what the fuck? Nobody even cares now, but when I was a kid, you would be like, I literally could get abducted by aliens on my way home from school.
No, now you have memes of like men and women being like, is my alien gonna come? Is he gonna be?
Is that the one for me?
Exactly.
Is this why it's taking so
find
long?
him. Yeah, exactly.
That's sad.
That's where we are as a culture.
That's fucking sad.
We're so lonely that we're like, alien abduction sounds great.
And
where can I sign up?
And there's hope in aliens.
Yeah. Gorglog might be the love of my life. I don't know. Maybe he has a job and lives alone.
Oh my God. And we're so disassociated that like seeing an alien actually being real.
There's TikToks like
doesn't affect us.
You know, there's TikToks where people are like, oh yeah, aliens, yeah, hi. And they're like, yeah, it's very funny.
So aliens abducting you was a 80s fear.
Were you personally scared?
I was a little. There would be times where I was afraid.
Bro, were you scared of everything?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't afraid of like getting on the city bus at 7 years old and riding it home like you guys are afraid of. So there's that.
Okay, but I thought I was gonna be kidnapped and used in some weird man's cult.
Nobody wants you.
Not now. No, trust me. I'm aware of that fact now.
We literally used to like walk to we used to take the bus home at 7 years old with like a bunch of crazy people on the bus.
Yeah, and then it was your generation that kept getting took that ruined it for my generation, who saw you guys come back out and were like, oh no.
Actually, nobody took us. That's the thing. That's why we're still here.
That you know of.
They didn't take us. We'll get into that another time. Maybe Elizabeth Smart got taken, but nobody was taking us off the bus. But so yeah, we weren't afraid of those things, but we clearly felt like maybe we could get abducted by aliens on our way home from the city bus trying to get back home. And then there was also rabies. That was a big one.
Rabies?
Oh yeah, rabies. It was a possibility.
Well, that could actually happen.
Yeah, but it was like...
That one's fair.
But it was almost like a panic.
Was it Old Yellow?
No, it was Cujo.
Cujo, okay. Old Yeller, is it, right?
It was a Stephen King
But he was
movie.
just supernatural. He wasn't on rabies, right?
I thought he had rabies. Did he have rabies? I thought Cujo had rabies.
I thought he was just pissed off.
Was he possessed?
I thought he was possessed, yeah.
I've only seen that movie one time because that was a movie that used to really scare us as kids. And so whenever we would like be in neighborhoods, like we used to actually get chased by dogs. I know that sounds...
No, I've been chased by a dog.
Okay,
I've actually been chased by multiple dogs.
Good. You need to be chased by a dog or two in your life.
People are like, no, he's a good boy.
Nah.
I'm like, no, he's not a good boy. He needs to stop chasing me.
Yeah, like...
And they're like, but did you run? And I'm like, what am I supposed to do? You know?
We literally were jumping on top of cars trying to get away from dogs. But whenever we would see like a dog, we'd be like, no, that's Cujo, that's Cujo. We were afraid. So yeah, those were my childhood fears. I'm kind of over it now though.
Well, rabies is solvable. They can give you.
But then you have to get
that.
30 shots in your belly button.
Yeah, it is a lot of shots.
That was where
that is a lot of
shots. Say, if you get rabies, you got to get 30 shots in your belly button.
I know. It is in your stomach though.
Is it?
I think so, right?
Real?
I thought so, yeah.
Oh damn! I'm glad I never got it. Yeah. So anyway, those are my irrational fears of childhood. So if you're out there and you can relate, rest assured, some of these things will never happen to you. Some of them might, specifically the Bermuda Triangle one. That could still happen. It's happened just as recently as 2017. So be careful.
Specifically if you live in Florida too, I feel like you should be. Because rabies is down here. We do have quicksand.
Oh, damn, we do.
We are part of the Bermuda Triangle.
We're part of the Bermuda Triangle. We have quicksand.
Is it like Miami or is it Key West? Like where is?
It's Miami. Miami, yeah. Puerto Rico, and what was the other one? Bermuda. Oh, brother.
Yeah, no, Florida, watch out. Everyone else, you're safe. It's okay. Don't come here. We're full.
I don't know. I think rabies might also lurk in like Boston or Maine somewhere. I feel like a squirrel up there might have rabies.
I know we hit our time, but you know what I was more scared of than rabies as a kid?
What?
Leprosy. Perks of going to a Catholic school. You're just terrified of leprosy.
That's more for people who know the Bible. You're like, oh, leprosy, which actually has made a comeback.
That's why I brought it up, because they were walking around all the time and they would just encounter people with leprosy like left and right. I know. And there'd be like full leper colonies and you're like, this is a thing that could happen. And then when I found out that it was pretty much gone, I was like, I'm good. Mm-hmm. Then I found out, is it like possums can give you leprosy?
One of them does.
And then there was also leprosy going on with like prairie dogs a while ago. And now it's back.
Oh, it's back.
Recently, people have been getting... And I'm like, bro, we solved this one.
It's back. It's back.
Yeah. So that one's a little concerning for me.
So that's all I got for this week.
Well, I liked it.
Thank you.
It was a fun time. I laughed a lot.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, I hope that, we didn't scare anyone too much, but if you like what you heard, make sure you rate, review, and subscribe. If you leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, we will read it out loud on the show. Thank you so much for listening.
See ya.